Meanwhile, overnight explosions hit the Iranian capital, Tehran, with the blast described as some of the strongest since the conflict began. Iran responded with waves of missiles against Israel after the ceasefire was announced by President Trump. Israeli rescues reported 4 deaths in Beersheba, and in retaliation, Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, has ordered intense strikes on the Iranian capital, Tehran. Israel is accusing Iran of violating a truce brokered by the United States and Qatar. Although Iran has denied the claim, its top security body has warned that the country's forces will respond decisively to any violation of this ceasefire. Figures from Iran shows that more than 400 persons, including 13 children, have been killed and at least 3,056 others wounded since Israel launched its attack on the 13th of June. In Israel, at least 24 people have been killed by Israeli strikes. The U.S. President Donald Trump says he's not happy with Israel for unloading attacks against Iran right after a ceasefire deal was reached. President Trump was speaking to reporters on his way to the NATO summit in The Hague. He also told journalists that Israel and Iran are unserious and do not know what they are doing. Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives Mike Johnson has reacted to the missile attacks by Iran against America's largest military base located in Qatar and another in Iraq. Iran called the military operations a blessing of victory, but the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives says the threat of Iran obtaining nuclear capabilities is a dangerous move, not only to Israel and the Middle East, but to the United States as well.
Been in a heightened threat scenario for quite some time, and it's something that we're very vigilant about, as is law enforcement throughout the country, and of course our federal agencies. We get briefings on this routinely, and we know where the threats are and the assessments, but it's a heightened period, of course. Members are concerned about that, as you know. Some of our Jewish members in particular have been targeted, even in recent days, by crazed people. We're going to prosecute those folks to the full extent of the law. And we're going to do everything we can within our power to make sure members are safe and free to do their jobs. There's a number of resources available for protection in that regard, and we're researching other avenues to make sure everyone who serves the public can do so.
And for more on the circle of conflict around Iran, Israel, and the United States, I'm joined by global affairs analyst Ejike Opai. Joins me live from Texas. Good to have you join us on The World Now. You're seeing what is happening. We see Trump turning around, blaming both parties, saying that both of them have violated this ceasefire deal. What do you make of this?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's something I like to describe as adults behaving delinquently. You know, you just said, hey, we want to have a ceasefire, and shortly after that, you start attacking each other. Again, Trump is trying to do what Trump thinks is going to be good for the both parties. But if they violate themselves, then all bets are off. And, hopefully this will be the end of it or the last of it. But you never know. This was done yesterday, and then today we all been exposed, to what, they have done to violate each other. Based on the video you shared in the cast, you can see the destruction. I mean, this is not imagined. This is for real. And hopefully, by the president saying that he's unhappy with both sides, hopefully that will make them come to terms and sort of pull back and go back to the agreement they have reached and see what happens. But you never know. It's just like everything else. When you have an agreement, you sign it, and then you wait to see who is going to honor it, and obviously they haven't honored it, and we're having this sort of something going on. It's really very, I don't know what to use the word, or shameful, but it is what it is.
And both parties have promised to respond with the highest force, blaming each other. We saw the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, reacting to this missile attack, saying that The threat of Iran actually obtaining a nuclear weapon is a dangerous move not only to Israel, but the Middle East and also to the United States. How do you interpret the statement in terms of safety?
Well, I mean, it's every president before Trump has always said if Iran were to succeed in enriching uranium and build a nuclear power, I mean, weapon, they're going to be attacked. I think they haven't. They are on their way to doing that, and so the concern is that proximity. I don't think Iranian missiles will hit America. It's too far for them. It's not going to happen, and America have a defense shield that would destroy it if they ever do it. But if they ever do it, you could see the military, American military might surrounding them. Apart from the base in Qatar, there's a base in Bahrain, and then there's U.S. carriers, or in very close, and they will be shelled. But I don't think it's going to get there. It's just the alert and the threat of something happening, which makes everybody to be aware. Because when just like they say, during the Biafran and Nigerian war, when you're surrounded by enemy, you go to sleep with one eye open. So that's what everybody's doing, and that has been going on for a very long time. When do we have a peace in Middle East? And considering the fact it's one of the richest regions in the world because of their oil revenue, you would think that they would now lean on the side of peace and life instead. You have what is going on, and it's very unfortunate.
So Iran may not have been able to attack the United States directly, but they have been able to, attack other military facilities outside the U.S. and places like Qatar. We've seen Iran's messaging at this time being very defined in the wake of this strike. And this announcement of a ceasefire actually came after that attack. Can we say that the U.S. has made its point here, that it will not hold back in intervening in terms of military?
Yes, of course, they did the attack on the Qatar base, but they didn't destroy anything, but no life was lost. I think, it's one of those things, when you're already on the ground, you're screaming, you're being, held down, you're just like somebody drowning, trying to hold on to the last straw. So Iran knows it. They've run out of options. They still want to have, saving their face. We still got something. We got to do something. But internally, there's a confusion going on. A lot of their generals got killed, and so now even if you have some other generals in the waiting, they too are going to be very cautious and very afraid to step into a role because they're going to get exposed. So again, I'm about, let's see what happens in the next few days, but that's no guarantee. Nobody has a magic wand. Nobody can predict, when people again behave, when adults behave delinquently. I think that's what we see here. Israel is behaving delinquently, and Iran is doing the same thing. And I'm hoping that the two parties that have this conflict, I've always said it, when you have a conflict and you introduce a third party, what do? You're going to have more escalation. So I'm hoping there's a maturity in the leadership that they too are looking, hey, who is dying? It's not Netanyahu that is being shelled. It's not the Ayatollah. It's just the average citizens who are trying to figure out how to live a life and getting shelled. Because these people are in safe places. They're just letting their ego run amok, and then shelling each other, which is not what I would like to see in the 21st century.
But in the past few days, we've seen President Trump openly suggesting a regime change in Iran. I'm wondering what this will involve, and is this likely to affect alliances in the Middle East?
Of course, it's anytime the president says something that that suggests a regime change, everybody who is an ally or somebody who is opposed is going to be said, are they for real? Trump has come back to say this is not a regime change. This is just to send a signal to Iran that if they continue this way, their own people are going to rise against them. I mean, there are a lot of Iranian Americans, there are a lot of other Americans that have ancestry to that part of the region, and they're going to take sides. But the most important thing is the people that live in Israel and the people that live in Iran. The Iranians don't like the suppressed nature of what the Ayatollah is doing. I have a lot of Iranian friends, and they tell me, hey, we want to see this guy out. But you can do it if your own people don't have the resources to do or the ability to do it. You're looking for a foreign person to do it. Then what does he do? It's going to escalate things. The Iranians should be able to take down their own irresponsible government, just like any other country in the world. When we have issues in America, we're not looking to Mexico or Canada or UK to do it. We Americans do it. So every country should own their own responsibility to take out any leadership that is not doing them right. But if you
Well,
invite
there are questions as
an
to whether
outsider,
the attack of the United States in the first place on this Iranian's nuclear facility was strategic at that time. But I'll put you on hold for a minute. We'll quickly go on the short break. When we come back, the news will continue. You're still watching The World Now. We'll continue after this break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us on The World Now. Right before the break, we were talking about the recent ceasefire deal between Israel and Iran, according to a statement made by President Donald Trump, who has mentioned that both parties have, affected the war at this time. But I was talking to a global affairs analyst, AJK Okpa, who is still with us. AJK, thank you for staying with us. I was talking to you about the fact that there are concerns whether the U.S. plan to attack Iran's nuclear facility was strategic in the first place. Are there any diplomatic options still available to both parties?
of course, diplomacy comes anytime, but the thing is, for diplomacy to work, the parties they have to agree to it. Usually, you can have a military attack that will go to make somebody weaken somebody. This is an offensive thing. America took an offensive action without, plus or minus. The point is that they did it, and now it's made Iran to start thinking twice. What are we going to do? We don't have anything to fight back on, but we're going to use whatever we have. Again, it's a case of somebody drowning and hanging on to the last straw. So diplomacy is there. Diplomacy is there. Hey, okay, guys, just like we in a fight, just like even a husband and wife situation. Okay, guys, okay, let's resolve this relationship so that everybody can go their way, or let's do something better so we can go on, go forward. So that's what the case is. Iran is being weakened as much as they may want to come back and say, oh, we still got something to do. This is a wounded lion and they are just limping. And who knows whether the limping is going to let them to finally give up, or they're just going to limp on a foot and just try to say, hey, we're still standing and we're going to do something. I think it's up to them, because at the end of the day, they're going to have more devastation that they can even inflict on Israel or America.
And how is this likely to affect alliances? In the past few days, we've also seen a lot of attacks, Russia and Ukraine. The war has been going on, but more attention has been on Iran and Israel for now. How is this decision currently likely to impact the other war going on?
Well, hey, when you look at that region, when you look at the money that comes out of that's Iran, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, the region is the highest flow of capital in the world. And where is that capital going? It's mainly going to America. So the alliances are going to want to see an end to it. The Russian-Ukrainian thing is not off the table. It's on the sideline, but it's probably by next week when the president comes back from NATO, there may be a new ideas on how to prosecute that war in order to get it to an end. But right now, the alliances in the Middle East is more important because, again, the president was there recently and he met with, the Saudi, the Qataris and Bahrain and saw the amount of money they pledged and the investment they said they're going to make. So at the end of the day, we say in America, follow the money. Follow the money, and so that alliance is probably not going to fall apart, because what are the choices? The money they have in the Middle East is ain't going to Russia. It's not going to go to China. America is still the best destination for foreign investment, and they know that that side of their bread is better buttered than anywhere else.
Some analysts are also raising concerns as to why this approach by the President of the United States is not also used in the war against Israel and Hamas. Is that something you see as a possibility at this time?
Well, Hamas is not a formal military anything. It's just one of those guerrilla group of people, excuse the expression, but, it's not a formalized military. It's just people who use all kinds of resources or means to attack. But Hamas and Hezbollah, they are watching. They are watching to see what's going to happen next. Because if the resources they're getting from Iran is going to be nipped, the chances are, how much impact is that going to do on their own ability? Is this going to slow them down, or is this going to reduce them to where they're going to look for other sources? So, I have no idea. I have no magic wand to say what's going to happen. We are all speculating in this, but we just want to see a peace in the Middle East. Since 1948 to date, you do the math on that. You see how this region has captivated the world for all the things that we don't expect them to be. I think if Iran were to come to their terms and say, hey, we don't want to destroy Israel, we don't hate Israel, but you know what, we're just going to focus on something else. That will probably give them the opportunity to focus on their own internal use, as opposed to saying we're going to wipe out a country. Just imagine in Nigeria, if foreign country say we're going to wipe out Nigeria. I mean, what would Nigerians do? What would Nigerian leadership? So I think it's that language they use that has caused them to be a bad nation in the world.
We're still going to wait out for the outcome of this ceasefire deal, if there is any still in place at this time. But that's a fine place to leave the conversation for now. Global Affairs analyst Ejike Okwa, thank you for talking to us.
Well,